Alright guys, this is going to be a follow-up video, kind of an update on this screw pop tool. If you remember, I showed this about 2 months ago or so. I think it was in the middle, maybe late February. But these things, they made their way around YouTube. There's a lot of people doing reviews on these, and kind of got the word out. A lot of people were interested in them. I certainly had a fascination with it. I'm always up for trying new gear and new kinds of tools and stuff like that. So I gave it a shot. Initially, I gave it to my father because he works in an office, he works in a warehouse environment, which is also connected to an office, and he's constantly back and forth all day. Whether he's in the office doing something, or he's out in the warehouse and he's building something. Oftentimes, he's in the office environment and he needs a screwdriver for something, and he doesn't have one on him. So he has to go all the way back to the warehouse and grab a screwdriver and come all the way back, do his job. So when I first showed the tool to him, he thought it'd be a great thing to have just on his person, and so this way he doesn't have to go back and forth to grab a screwdriver. So he carried it for about 2.5 weeks. Now initially I gave him this setup here, which was a simple Maritech crab claw. These are actually really nice. I got this from CountyCom, and I put on some tether cord here, okay, for a necklace. Very simple, just clip it on, and he wore it around his neck, and then when he needed the tool, he just unclipped it, used the tool, and then put it back. Alright, real simple setup. Well, the problem here is that he's not a guy who normally has stuff around his neck, doesn't really wear jewelry, doesn't have a necklace, so it kind of got bothersome. It's something you just can't forget. If you don't wear a watch, and all of a sudden you start wearing a watch, you kind of notice that it's there. It doesn't disappear. You're playing with it and maneuvering it, moving around. It kind of makes you uncomfortable. And that's kind of how we got with this. So I said, all right, that's fine, and I unclipped it, and I gave him a carabiner. Actually, it was an S-beaner, to be specific, and I hooked that on so he can carry it on the belt loop on his jeans. And that was fine, but then when it was on his jeans, he kind of forgot about it. And there was a lot of cases where it was kind of hanging there, and he ended up just going and getting a screwdriver anyway because he forgot it was there. So eventually he just gave it back to me. He thanked me for the thought and all that, but it's not a tool that he was, like I said, constantly using. It was just an every now and then. He did get some use out of it, and he did give me some good feedback. He said that the bits that this uses, the stock bit here, was pretty strong. I mean, what he does at work, he really cranks on things. It's not, they're not little dainty screws, So he did use it hard, and he said that it never stripped anything out, and the bit here never stripped. So that's good news. Another thing I was worried about, and after he gave it back to me, I started carrying a little bit. I started off with the neck thing, and the same thing happened to me. I'm used to carrying neck knives. I kind of carry them on and off time to time, but I couldn't find a comfortable way to carry this. If I had one shirt on, like when it was hot, I had just a t-shirt, and I had this tucked in my shirt, the bit would scratch me, scratch the top of my stomach and my chest. It was uncomfortable. If I had it on the outer part of my clothing, it would bounce around too much, kind of get hung up on things. The only time it really was perfect is when I wore two shirts, which actually, if the weather is moderately warm but not too hot, I'll wear a t-shirt and then a polo shirt over it, and I kind of tucked it in between both shirts, and that was perfect. It stayed in place, but it wasn't irritating. But, summertime's coming up, and I don't normally wear two shirts in the summer. It wouldn't really make much sense with it. But anyway, the reason I'm telling you that is because I found that carrying it on the, my original intentions on this neck rig here, it just never worked out. So I swapped out, and I started carrying on the carabiner clip as well, or S-beaner, and I found that was totally fine. I kind of forgot about it as well, but there were a couple times where I needed a screwdriver, specifically 2 times. I needed a screwdriver. One was for a door hinge, my bedroom door. I just needed to tighten it down. It was squeaky and loose, and I actually used some of that ballast all. I've been using it all around my house, get rid of all the squeaky doors and chairs and all kinds of stuff. But that's off topic. But I noticed that it was loose. So instead of going to grab my toolbox, I just actually had this on my jeans at the time. And I thought, oh, cool, what a perfect opportunity. And I pulled it out and, just used it real quick. The second time was actually at work. I had to tighten something down at work. But it worked out fine. It was a little bit awkward using the ring style here as opposed to like a normal handle. But it gave me enough leverage to tighten what I needed. It was funny, I was having a discussion with my father on what you can put through here to get better leverage. Now originally, I think in my first video, I mentioned you could put something long like a pen or something to give you better leverage. And the only thing I could really think of that would be strong enough, that's metal, that most people would have to give you better leverage, would be a screwdriver. But that doesn't really make much sense, does it? Because if you're using a big screwdriver to give you leverage, you don't need this. You already have the screwdriver. So you get the point. One thing I was worried about with this is that the bit that comes with it, it has that ball bearing and the detent, and I thought that would get loose over time. And it did get a little bit loose, but I can't complain because I still hold. And I did this a couple hundred times, back and forth, and I flipped it around to try to, speed up the usage of the tool. I can't tell you what it's going to be like 3 years from now because it's not 3 years. So I tried to kind of get some more use out of it that way. But I have to say it's still holding up pretty strong. I mean, if I really whip this, it'll slide out. But I think normal carry, it should be fine. If you do decide to carry this on your keys, it's kind of iffy. It bangs around and the tip can fall out. I don't know. I didn't really carry it on the keys. I carried it on my person, like I said. And with it bouncing around, it was fine. But, I don't know about key carry because I simply didn't use it on my keys. But I can tell you that even though it loosened a little bit, it's still, I think it's effective enough. It's not going to fly out. Okay? Is it going to stay like that 2 or 3 years from now? No idea. Time will tell. But overall, I never used I used it once, but on purpose. It's not like I needed a bottle opener. I actually had to search for a bottle to test out the bottle opener. Bottle opener does work fine. But you can use a lot of different things to open bottles. So that's not, the most effective tool. The conclusion I kind of came down to is that it's a really cool tool if you generally use a screwdriver. If you use a screwdriver for a job or for work, then yeah, it's a cool little backup, and it's a good thing to have. If you, work in an environment, if you in an environment, yeah, I think everyone works in some kind of environment. If you work in an office environment, I don't think this is going to be a very useful tool for you because chances are you don't use a normal screwdriver, so why would you need some kind of compact, portable one, So if that makes any sense, I'm sure you know where I'm coming from there. But overall, I still think it's a good tool to have. I will say one thing. Shortly after I received this, of course, I found this from countycom.com. It's almost, the timing's very strange that it came out basically at the same time. And I have used this quite a bit, and I actually prefer this for a lot of different reasons, but that's for a separate video. Overall, though, I think for a compact, maybe a key carry or, on your keychain, if you do have a use for a screwdriver throughout the week, I do think it's a very good option. But I'll make a separate video comparing these two together and why I like this. But even if you don't have this, I still think this is a pretty good tool. So there's my update on the screw pop tool. Like I said, it made its rounds on YouTube. There's a lot of people did videos on them. I'd like to see other people's opinions as well for long-term reviews. I mean, a lot of us can get an idea of what we like or what we don't like initially, but to really, really test a product and to really know if it's good or not, you have to just use the thing. You have to carry it around, you have to use it, and you have to see how it wears. So, anyway, screw pop tool update. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and like I said, very soon I'll have a comparison review between both of those tools. So take it easy, guys. Appreciate you watching.